Have you ever really looked at a plant? I mean, not just a quick glance, but truly seen its structure, its architecture? Well, today we're going to do just that. We're going on a journey, a kind of naturalist's ascent, starting from deep in the soil all the way up to the highest flower, to really understand the incredible design of a flowering plant. So let's get started. Now, every great expedition needs a guide, right? Ours is the legendary botanist Catherine Essio. And this quote from Peter Raven, who's a giant in the field himself, it just says it all. She absolutely dominated. So yeah, I'd say we're in pretty good hands. Just look at this life. Born in Ukraine in 1898, her career spanned almost an entire century of just groundbreaking work. Her 1954 book, Plant Anatomy, literally revived the whole field. She was only the sixth woman ever elected to the National Academy of Sciences, and she even got the National Medal of Science. People called her book the Webster's of Plant Biology. She basically wrote the manual on what we're about to explore. So with her wisdom as our foundation, let's start where she would have, right at the beginning.
Our climb begins where the plant itself does, underground, in this hidden foundation of the root system. You know, it's the part we almost never see, but it is where everything, absolutely everything, gets started.
So what is this system actually doing down there? Well, it's a multitasking marvel, really. First, it's the plant's anchor, holding it firm against wind and rain. It's also the main pipeline for sucking up water and minerals from the soil. And it acts like a pantry, storing up food reserves for later. Oh, and on top of all that, it's a little chemical factory, making the growth regulators that control the plant's entire development. Now, you should know not all root systems are created equal. First up, we have the taproot system. Just picture a big, central, dominant root that plunges deep, deep into the soil, with all these smaller, lateral roots branching off the sides. This powerhouse structure is classic for dicots, you know, plants like carrots or dandelions, that start life with two little seed leaves. And here we go. This is a perfect illustration. This is the root of a mustard plant. You can see it so clearly, that one main root just driving straight down. Now, why does this matter? Well, this design is a huge advantage for reaching water that's way down deep, which makes these plants incredibly resistant to drought. It's a brilliant survival strategy. Okay, so the other main strategy is the fibrous root system. In this case, that first primary root doesn't stick around for long. Instead, a whole bunch of roots just explodes from the base of the stem, forming this dense mat right under the surface. This is the go-to system for monocots, so think grasses, wheat, corn, plants that sprout with just one seed leaf. Take a look at this wheat plant. See, there's no single big root to be found. Instead, you've got this massive network of all these similarly sized roots. This structure is fantastic for catching surface water, say from a light rain. And from an agricultural standpoint, it's a total game changer for preventing soil erosion because it holds everything together like a net. But wait, there's actually a third category, kind of the rule breakers of the root world. These are adventitious roots. They don't grow from the little embryonic root, the radicle, at all. Instead, they can just sprout from almost anywhere else, the stem, even the leaves in some plants. The examples are just amazing. You see them in common grass, the climbing roots of a monstera, or those incredible prop roots that hold up a giant banyan tree. And here you can see these adventitious roots in action on a monstera. They're popping right out of the woody stem, reaching down to find more support and extra nutrients. It's just a truly incredible adaptation for climbing up toward the light. Okay, let's zoom in, like way in, to the very tip of one single root. It's a little zone of crazy activity. First, right at the end, you have the root cap. It's like a tiny hard hat, protecting the root as it pushes through the soil. Right behind that is the meristematic region, full of tiny cells that are just dividing like crazy. Then, those new cells get pushed into the elongation region, where they stretch out and make the root longer. And finally, they reach the maturation region, where they get their jobs. This is where those delicate, super important root hairs form, ready to do all the heavy lifting of absorption.
All right, we've explored that hidden foundation. Now our ascent really begins. We are officially breaking the surface and reaching for the sky with the stem.
The stem is basically the plant's central highway and its skyscraper all rolled into one. Its basic anatomy is defined by nodes. You can think of these as the exits on the highway where leaves emerge, and then the internodes are just the stretches of highway in between. It's also where you'll find buds, packed with all the potential for new growth. So the stem's job is really twofold: provide that structural support to hold the leaves up to the light and act as that superhighway, moving water up from the roots and sugars down from the leaves.
Continuing our climb up the stem, we arrive at the plant's power stations. These are the engines of life, the leaves. We're talking about nature's most sophisticated solar panels.
A typical leaf has three main parts. You've got the leaf base, which is simply where it hooks onto the stem. Then there's the petiole, that's the stalk. And its flexibility is key. It lets the leaf flutter in the breeze, which is a clever way to cool it down and bring in fresh carbon dioxide. And then, of course, you have the lamina, the big, broad, green blade itself, crisscrossed with veins that give it structure and transport all the goods. Speaking of those veins, the pattern they make, it's called venation, is a huge clue to what kind of plant you're looking at. In those dicots we talked about, you'll usually find reticulate venation. It looks like an intricate net-like pattern. Monocots, on the other hand, almost always have parallel venation, where the veins run in nice, straight lines right alongside each other. And wow, this side-by-side makes the difference crystal clear, doesn't it? On the left, that reticulate pattern looks like a complex little roadmap, and on the right, the parallel veins look just like lanes on a highway. It's two totally different solutions to the exact same problem of transport and support. Okay, now let's talk about the overall shape. A leaf is called simple if its lamina, that blade, is just one continuous piece, even if the edges are a little bit wavy. But if the divisions are so deep that they cut all the way to the central midrib, creating a bunch of separate little blades, well, then you've got a compound leaf. Here is a perfect contrast. On the left, you see a simple leaf, one blade, one stalk, that's it. On the right, that's a pinnately compound leaf from a neem tree. Now, it might look like a bunch of leaves, but technically it's all one leaf, just made up of many little leaflets arranged along that central stem. Pretty cool, huh? Now, if we take a step back and look at the whole plant, there's also this beautiful geometry to how the leaves are arranged on the stem. This pattern has a name. It's called phyllotaxy. And it's not random at all. It's perfectly optimized to make sure every single leaf gets as much sunlight as possible without shading out its neighbors. We usually see three main types of this amazing geometry. First is the alternate pattern, where you get just one leaf at each node, like on a China rose or mustard plant. Then you have the opposite pattern, where a pair of leaves grows at each node, which you can see in calotropes and guava. And finally, you have the whorled pattern, where more than two leaves pop out from a single node, making this really striking ring. Alstonia is a great example of that.
We've done it. We've climbed from the root, up the stem, past all the leaves, and now we have reached the pinnacle of our journey, the absolute architectural finale of the plant, the flower, and the way the flowers are arranged, which is called the inflorescence.
So there are two main ways plants arrange their flowers. In a racemose type, the main stem just keeps growing and growing, producing new flowers on the sides as it goes. This means the youngest flowers are always at the top. But in a cymose type, the main stem's growth gets stopped in its tracks because it ends in a flower. So any new flowers have to grow on branches below it, which means the oldest, original flower is sitting right at the very top. And there you have it. In just a few minutes, we've traveled through an entire complex organism, from a single, tiny absorbing cell at the tip of a root all the way to the beautiful arrangement of its flowers. It's just an incredible feat of natural engineering. So the next time you walk outside, maybe take a closer look. What other marvels of design are just waiting for you to discover in the plants all around us?